Hey, you know what, YouTube? I'm just gonna be honest right now. This is Broman Clash. If you really know me, you understand where I'm coming from. But I gotta say this. And what's going on in Ferguson, especially what's going on with Darren Wilson and Mike Brown. It really concerns me because, and I'm going to be straight up honest. I wasn't surprised that he walked off free because you want to know why he didn't. He walked off free, not indicted, anything like that. Because like he's a police officer, he has a badge, and all that stuff. But you got to remember, America is definitely a radical place. Not a radical place in terms of like it was different. Okay, it's different, but the rules that it plays are extremely different. And remember back in Soviet Russia, had a way they had people crying, complaining about secret police, tyranny, and all that stuff. Look at America. Look at how the way it treats black people. Look how it treated the Native Americans. Look how it treated the Asians. Matter of fact, especially treated black folks. Like, come on, you killed. Okay, first of all, you nearly eradicated. Like how many people just so you could establish yourself, and then you have the nerve to say, "Oh, we are a land of equal opportunity, land of the brave, home of the free." Yeah, right. It's land of the thief, home of the slave. If you really look at the history, and then how the way you treated my people, especially the whole system of America. And I'm not talking about, a couple of whiteys here and there. I understand some people might catch me on and say, why are you saying whiteys for? I'm just like, yo, man, white people, Caucasians, honkies, crackers, snowflakes, whatever you say, that's how, that's, white folks. I'm not saying like, yo, all white folks are like this, but if some of them look at us as a collective, we gotta look at them as a collective. But aside from that, brief intermission about the hit about like parts of America that deals with this kind of thing. But let's talk about Darren Wilson and Michael Brown, the verdict, and how the way there were 9 white jurors and 3 black jurors, and how the way he was found not only not guilty but was not indicted. Now, people in Ferguson, and I'm going to be straight up, I even said this to my mom, compared to us up here in New York and a few other places, they're not pussies. I mean, I could understand their rage and their discontent because it's been going on for years, and especially if you know about history in America, especially with the civil rights movement, you understand that America is not like a great place to live because it boasts about integration, it boasts about equal opportunity, it boasts about good things, but it practices the opposite. It practices separation. It practices nitpicking, and it also practices like certain things that is deemed illegal. Some of you may say like it's not doing sweatshops. Well, it may have owned sweatshops. Shit, what do you think slavery was? The original sweatshop. And some of you may say that's not the case. I'm just like, tell me this: little to no pay, extended working hours, and picking and making a product. Sounds like a sweatshop. And I know you're thinking like, oh, but that was like how many years back? I can give you that credit too. But when it comes right down to this, people are not going to forget history that easily, especially American history. How the way they try to portray George Washington and all these other white presidents who don't even give a shit about us, and we have like a half-ass black president, Barack Hussein Obama, whose original name was Barry Soweto. Yeah, but put that in your history books. Nah, but here's the thing, like Barack Obama, I can understand, he's president and he's got to focus on other things, but black people, we just saw his skin and we just thought like, yeah, he's gonna be for us. Not the case. Then it turns out he would rather address the black youth for being violent What about those that are actually not being violent? What about those that are being peaceful? Those who are actually following the laws, but yet there will still be cops that will bash them inside the fucking head. And then it's funny, and it tickles me pink, and it makes me want to just look at America and say, I hope you burn. And America will burn one day. And some of you may say, that's a bit extreme. But if you really think about it, like America, and if you really look at it, like from like it's not only a historical lens, but also a political lens, it's very corrupt. I mean, we have two parties that don't even give a shit about the poor, don't even give a shit about veterans, only give a shit about the middle class and the rich, and definitely give a shit about the wealthy too. But when the people, see, you have to remember, the government consists of the people. Well, not anymore, but they are afraid of the people. Why do you think they try to keep us bogged down? And why do you think there were so many laws that were created to keep black people under ropes? You know, like Jim Crow, black codes, and then there were other laws too. There was, you know, separate but equal, uncon, and then there was also unconstitutional racism, such as, you know, like not hiring certain people in the workplace, even though they have like either meet the credentials or over the credentials. And then to make matters even funnier is the fact that America tried to portray itself as like this very pure country. It's not full of rainbows. It's not. You want to know why it's not full of rainbows? Look at its history. Even though it's trying to portray itself as like, oh, we're a great place to live. All these other countries, they're not so good to live at. But if you look at the like the U.S. involvement in some of those countries, man, the United States caused like so many problems around the world, man. That's the reason why, you know, like countries hate America. And in times of strife, you know, I noticed this. Like in times of strife, some people, some white people would say, "Oh, we're brothers in all this. We shouldn't be fighting." I'm like, okay, motherfucker. When there was some shit going down, matter of fact, when shit was not going down, and we wanted to hang out, some of you would say, "Oh, don't trust him. You know, he looks like he's up to no good." Now, some of you may say that I sound like a bigot or a racist. Now, let me clear this up for you. See, look, you can call me a bigot because a bigot just has an opinion. But I'm not a racist because I don't have power, especially in a system that's structured to be designed for me to fail. Okay? That's one thing you need to get cleared up because some of you act real cute and try to be like, oh, yeah, you know, you're a racist, man. You're a racist. You're a racist. Do not confuse an opinion for power because majority of the time, opinions do not have power unless they are funded and unless they are agreed upon and unless they bring in more money. That's when opinions matter. But other than that, I want to talk about, you know, the whole thing about Darren Wilson and Michael Brown. See, look, Michael Brown, I feel sorry. You know, that didn't make no sense. Okay, some cases say that he was trying to reach for Darren Wilson's gun. But yet some cases say that, you know, he was shot in the back. And what I found quite funny was the fact that some of those cases that talked about, you know, Michael Brown was trying to reach for the gun was the fact that it was either informed by CNN or by like a white-owned corporation, like a few white higher-ups talking about like, oh, this is what's really happening, trying to defend a person who was most likely guilty of murder, and he is. I mean, come on. There were even witnesses that said Michael Brown was saying, "Look, stop! I have my hands up," doing that, and then and it's just somewhat funny that they defend a murderer, and it can be traced back to Emmett Till. And some of you may say that, oh yeah, Emmett Till was a completely different case, but that is not the case because Emmett Till was still a victim of racism. And why do I say he's a victim of racism? I mean, think about it, because I mean, just like what happened with George Zimmerman between Trayvon Martin. There were a few like visual antis that thought like, oh yeah, there was a grave injustice. We should take out this black perpetrator. That's just it, man. And some of you may say that you sound very opinionated. See, when you're emotionally charged in a racially charged society that try to say like there's no such thing as racism, I think you really need to look at the facts instead of the opinions. Because when you look at history and you look at what was really going on in America, you see that America is very guilty. And then Darren Wilson, and I recently saw this. Sometimes I see this on Facebook, man. And it's very funny that they talk about how the way he got millions of donations. Like, what the fuck? That guy literally killed somebody. Now, if he killed a white kid, how would that vibrate? It would not vibrate well. I remember I saw this about like Domo Wolfstrain. It was a black officer. Did not use lethal force, but was suspended and probably had like his badge revoked or something like that. But you know, and it really makes me think like, yo, what's the point? And people in Ferguson, they're expressing how the way they truly feel. They're saying, you know what, enough is enough. We're gonna fucking riot. And you know what I say? I agree with them. But they gotta be more intelligent. The reason why I say they gotta be more intelligent because burning and looting does not exactly, present your case really well. It does not present yourself really well. But in terms of emotion and discontent, I am not gonna look at you and say, you know what, you're a bunch of savages. No. When it comes right down to rioting, when people are violent with you, you're gonna be violent back. And it's just like what Malcolm X once said: we are nonviolent with those who are nonviolent with us. So if you try to be nonviolent with a violent oppressor, then you're just wasting your time. That's the thing you need to understand. And some of you may say like, yo man, what you trying to incite a race war? Let me tell you something. There's been a race war going on for like 500 plus years. I mean, ever since Christopher Columbus set foot on America. How did he describe those people? And when those people showed off kindness, he said they were savages because not only they look different, but they act different. They had a different culture. But one thing that they did have, that Christopher Columbus said that, yo, they're still savages, but we still can take advantage of them, were resources. That's the thing. And some of you may say, how does this connect to, Michael Brown and Darren Wilson? It deals with one thing: mental. Because, like, people will be emotionally charged, but once they think rationally and just realize, yo, man, this is going to happen long before it even hits, then people will begin to realize, like, yo, no, we're not going to take any more of this shit. See, if it was me, hey, that fucking cop would have got the death penalty along with George Zimmerman and along with that other cop that killed Eric Garner and also that other cop that shot that 12-year-old, on the stomach because he had a BB gun. I mean, there are kids. I mean, come on, I ain't gonna lie to you. On the news, how many white boys did you see that shot up schools? And cops had the evidence right there, right in front of their face, like, oh shit, he's gonna shoot up a school? Didn't even bother to acknowledge it. And once it happens, they say, oh, he was a mentally disturbed kid. You know what? I wish we could have done something. Kid does himself and pulls the trigger. Come on. Like, you can't say that, yo, when a black kid does it, he's instantly a crook. But when a white kid does it, he's considered to be mentally unstable. And it's just like what I saw before. And Mr. Watkins once showed this. And it showed off like an edited version of a little young black man, who said that, yo, I'm gonna get myself a gun. CNN cut it off right then and there. But the rest of the video showed that he said, I wanna own myself a gun. And they asked, why you wanna own yourself a gun? And he said, so I can be a cop and protect people. Now, that's a young man who actually wants to benefit and contribute back to the community. He wants to defend his people. But CNN wanted to make that young black man look like a damn crook. Just like they did with Michael Brown. They tried to say like he was robbing a store. They tried to say he had marijuana in his system. And to make matters, like I say, even crazier, like it all harkens back to counterintelligence programming, wiretap, and what's really been what's been going on back in the 40s, 50s, and 60s. With Dr. King, the Black Panther Party, Malcolm X, and also with very revolutionary leaders during the time. Patrice Lumumba, even though that was in Africa, but yet he was still talking about something that was relevant to that very day. To this very day, their ideologies are still standing. Yet they were taken down by sneaked up forces. I'm looking at you, J. Edgar Hoover. Fuck him too. And then, okay, you wanna know why I said fuck J. Edgar Hoover? Because the original plan of the FBI was this: to prevent the rise of another black messiah. Not to protect the United States, but to prevent the rise of another black messiah. Now, Marcus Mosiah Garvey, what did he do wrong? He didn't do anything wrong. You know what he did? He organized his people. He built a Black Star Line. He managed to have a military force that consisted of black only. And he did that by himself with some assistance, from people who supported him. And he did that with black owned money. And that was looked at as a threat to America. They wanted to prevent that. So future leaders, such as myself or those down the line, they don't want that. You want to know why? Because they're scared. And to make matters, even funnier is the fact that if you do not know your history, you are doomed to repeat it. So why are people afraid of history in the first place? Is it because they know they're going to repeat it? Or is it because they know what's going to happen next? So they just say no. And I want to say this, and this was said by Ossie Davis, but this was told to him from Malcolm X. And he said this. Malcolm said that the chains of slavery that were on your wrists and on your arms were cut and broken a century ago. But the ones that they planted in your mind are still there, and they will be there until you get up off your knees and stand up like a man, even if it costs you your life. Now, how does this tie in with, Michael Brown and, Darren Wilson and the whole thing in Ferguson? Look at the riots. I think it's high time that, those people are saying that, look, man, we've been on our knees praying. We've been on our knees being peaceful. I know enough is enough. That's what they're saying. And that's how it stands. And the whole case, it was rigged. Just like what happened with Trayvon Martin. Some of y'all are going to chew me out for this, but I don't give a shit. And I'm just going to say it. But that judge, when she did the case for Trayvon Martin, I noticed that she threw up a little slight smirk. And that was the only thing that stood out. And Barack Obama wanted to address, and when, I think it was Eric Garner or Michael Brown. Oh no, it was Michael Brown. During somewhere around the same time, Robin Williams committed suicide. And then Barack Obama felt as if it was necessary to address the suicide of a white actor instead of the unjustifiable murder, the unjust murder of a young black male. Now, you may say, like, I'm screwed up for saying this, but seriously, I do not care about Robin Williams. Because you know why? Because my people come first. Sure, he may have been a great actor, don't get me wrong, but there are other ways of handling suicide. No, there are other, not suicide, but there are other ways of handling life other than just taking your own life. You gotta endure it. And he was too weak. And some of you may say, that's just cold-hearted. How about those that commit suicide, yet they don't get recognized? But yet, because he's a white actor, somebody who contributed to America more, and considered themselves to be a friend of the American people. But yet there was the murder of a young black male right then and there. And yet he does not address it. You know, Barack Obama, specifically, man, some of you may say, yo, but he's the first black president. Let me tell you something, man. I don't care if he's the first black president. We considered Bill Clinton to be the first black president. But yet look what he did in the Congo. He caused wars in the Congo. Remember that? He caused murder. And he caused a bit more trouble in Africa. Just like George Bush for oil. Afghanistan, no wait. Yeah, he caused more trouble, you know, over there in the Middle East for oil. And I'm not talking about Bill Clinton, I'm talking about George W. Bush. Fuck both of them. And Barack Obama, he's just continuing the same damn thing. So fuck him too. Sure, just because he has my skin color doesn't necessarily mean he's down for, you know, down for the people. When I mean the people, I mean me and a few other people who understand the black ply. And what's the black ply? The fact that our people are crying for help. And it's been that way for how many years? For how many centuries? But it's just that it just really makes me look at America like, you know what, man? Fuck America. Seriously, fuck America. And some of you may say that, you know, that's a bit extreme. Weren't you born in America? I'm like, I may have been born in Brooklyn, New York, but if I look at my ancestry and if I look at, you know, how the way things were chronologically put down, America doesn't consider me an American. And ironically, those that don't consider me an American, their ancestry was not even American themselves. So fuck them too. And fuck the police. Some of you may say, wow, that's a bit harsh. Why would you say that? I have my reasons, and I'll tell you. Because when I do my history, and I'm going to be straight up with you, America, see, look, when it comes right down to the police, you know what they did? They did, you know, many things. They sicked dogs on our people. They even shot our people with water hoses. They did all that stuff. And you expect me to look at them and say, I want to be just like them with their bloodstained history. I can't do that. And some of you may say that that's a bit harsh. But I say unto you is this. Is it really harsh when you look at America's history and say, are you proud to be an American? Especially with this ugly stain that they have once again proven that they only care about themselves, but not everyone else. And the government. What has the government proven constantly over and over and over and over and over again? That they only care about the people that they are worth defending. They're not meant to defend all, but only those that they want to protect. Well, you two, the only thing I gotta say is this. If you forget your history, or you choose not to learn it, you are doomed to repeat it. Both the good and the bad. but the bad will teach you how to appreciate the good. And with that, I say, hope you have a great, hope you have a great day today. This is Grown Man Class saying out one, later.